Hi, I'm Ali and I run Bobbin Sewing School. I've been sewing from the first time I could pick up a needle, and I've been working in the fashion textile industry all of my adult life, teaching for the majority of those years. The sewing machine is a great tool to open up your creative sewing journey, and today I want to show you the basics of a sewing machine, right from plugging it in to making your first stitch. So let's make a start. To start with, I'm going to give you an overview of the two basic types of machine available on the domestic market. We've got the electronic and the mechanical. There are many brands available, but they all run off of the same basic designs and have similar functions. Now I'm going to take you through the front panels of both of the different types of machine, starting with the mechanical machine. Now, looking at the front of this mechanical machine, we have the stitch selection guide here, the stitch selector dial and the stitch length dial. We've got the tension dial, and on the front here are some stitch thread guides, and at the bottom here we've got the reverse button. Now with the electronic machine, we have the stitch selection panel here. We've got this digital display showing the stitch that you have selected, the stitch length and the needle position or the width of your stitch if that's relevant to your machine. We've got the tension button or wheel just here, and the thread guides showing the route of your threads here. Here's the reverse button. That might be in a completely different place on your machine. In addition, you may or may not have extra function buttons. Look at your manufacturer's manual for all of their applications. Generally, there are two types of power and foot pedal connections. On this mechanical machine, you can see there is only one socket for the combined dual power and the foot pedal cables. On this electronic machine, there are separate power and foot pedal sockets. Also, on the side of the machines, above the power sockets, you have the hand wheel, which we'll cover later on in this tutorial. I am now going to show you how to wind a bobbin using your machine. Place your thread onto the spool holder. This may be horizontal, as in this machine, or vertical, depending on your machine. Place the spool stop back in place also. Then I'm going to take the thread and I'm going to take it around the back of the bobbin winding tension button here. Make sure the thread is between the bottom plate and the upper clamp, and just make sure that it's anchored well and truly between the two. Making sure the thread is well and truly anchored underneath. If you lift the thread, you can see it lifts the clamp. There is a little bit of tension. You will feel it if you've got it in the right place. When you look at the bobbin, you'll see that it looks like a little cylinder with two discs either side. As you can see, there are holes on either side of the discs, here and here. Pass the thread up from the inside out through one of the little holes, and then you will see that the bobbin is suspended like that. We then place the bobbin onto the bobbin winder. Pushing the bobbin winder across into position, this machine knows we're winding the bobbin, and it will engage the mechanics to only wind the bobbin and disengage the gears that make the needle go up and down. Holding the thread up, we depress the foot pedal and turn some thread onto the bobbin, making sure the thread stays in the tension button. Keep the thread nice and tensioned. Now we can cut off this loose end of thread and continue winding our bobbin. Keep checking that the bobbin is winding nice and evenly, and as the bobbin fills up it will slow down, and at this point you know that it's time to remove the bobbin from the bobbin winder. Push the bobbin across to release it and lift the bobbin off of the bobbin winder here. So on this mechanical machine, when we engage our bobbin, it doesn't actually disengage the gears. So we need to disengage the gears that make the needle go up and down by pulling the hand wheel out. Now that's not with all mechanical machines, but it is with this particular brand of machine and similar ones to this one. So we need to hold our thread up and we can then start winding our bobbin. So once our bobbin has wound to its fullest point, we can disengage the bobbin, lift it off and take our scissors and cut the bobbin away from the thread. We now need to re-engage the gears by pressing the hand wheel back into place. If you don't press the hand wheel back into place, when you come to sew, nothing will happen. You'll just get a whirring noise and nothing else. So always remember, pull it out to disengage the gears and push it back in to start your sewing. We are now ready to thread the machine. First of all, let's make sure the machine is set ready to be threaded. Check the presser foot is in the raised position. On this machine, the presser foot lever is located on the side of the throat here. On some machines, the lever is on the back directly in line with the presser foot. You always have to make sure the presser foot is down when sewing and up when threading, and also when you're positioning your fabric. We place the thread on the spool holder. If it's a horizontal one like this, then we need to put our stop back on to stop the thread from flying off as we're sewing. Take the thread and thread it behind the first guide, which is usually directly in line or across the top of the machine in line with your thread here. We take the thread down through the tension plates at this point, around the lower hook and back up and around behind the thread take-up hook here, and then take it back down towards the needle. Once you've brought your thread down towards the needle, you need to bring the thread around any other little hooks particular to your machine. So we have one here, I'm going to take the thread behind, and one just here that takes the thread down in front of the needle at this point here. We're now ready to thread our needle, and I've got a couple of tips for you. The first is to cut your thread with a very sharp pair of snips to give you an unfrayed point. Taking a centimetre of thread between your thumb and finger, just position that in front of the eye of the needle and feed the end through, like so. And take the thread back underneath the foot. My second tip is, if you really can't see the eye of the needle, is to place a piece of card, white card, behind your needle, and then you'll be able to see the eye more clearly when you come to thread. On some machines you might have a automatic needle threader. If you have, you can actually look at the user guide to work out how to use it, or follow these instructions with this one here. So I've got a lever, I'm going to bring the lever down, this is my needle threader lever, and as I bring the needle threader down, the needle threader hook itself swings forwards and the hook goes into the eye of the needle. It's a tiny, tiny hook, so be careful not to damage it. Then we take the thread underneath the first hook at that point there, and in front of the needle and back over the second little hook of the needle threader. As I release the needle threader up, a a thread of loop comes through the eye of the needle, which I can then pull through and take the excess out and back and underneath the presser foot. There are two main ways bobbins are housed depending on your machine, either vertically in a cassette or horizontally in a top-loading carriage. With this top-loading machine, we need to remove the top case cover that covers the bobbin carriage. There's a little lever here that we pull and then we lift the cover off. The bobbin goes into the machine with the thread to the left-hand side, and we drop that into here. We then take the thread underneath any of the tension guides here and we bring it around and to the left. On this machine, the thread cuts off at a determined length. On some machines you will need to leave a length that will be taken up through the needle plate. And now we need to recover in readiness for the next stage. So on this mechanical machine, which is a front loading machine, we need to expose the bobbin housing. So we're going to pull away the free arm, the extension table, and in front of us is a little drop down door. We open the door. Inside you'll see the bobbin cassette and the bobbin carriage here. To remove the cassette from the carriage, we need to open this little lever here, and we're going to spring this little spring lever back and pinch it and pull it out, and you'll see that the bobbin cassette is there ready for the bobbin to be placed into. So taking my bobbin, I'm going to take the bobbin and pop it in to the cassette with the thread hanging down to the left hand side. Now if I turn the bobbin over towards me, the bobbin cassette over towards me, you will see that there's a tiny little groove just in that place there, and a little metal plate with a screw attached to it. The thread needs to go underneath that little first groove, and it needs to go around and underneath the little metal plate, and it clicks into place. Now the way you can tell if it's in a good position is just to hold the thread and just see if the bobbin is happily sitting in there and the thread isn't spooling off too fast. So we have our bobbin thread there, and there we have the tension. You can feel the tension as you pull the thread off, you can feel the tension. So I'm going to turn the bobbin back around, the bobbin cassette back around, and open the little lever, the little spring lever again, and hold it clamped. If I hold it clamped, I can move the bobbin around as much as I like and it won't fall out. So now I'm going to put the bobbin back into the housing, into the carriage, and ensure that the arm is placed into the top of the carriage here. If you haven't got it in and it's swinging freely, then that is not a safe place to be. So we need to make sure it is clicked into place, or at least placed in, and there's just a teeny bit of free motion there. And then we're ready now to bring this thread up and through the needle plate at this point underneath the needle. So on the mechanical machine here, I need to bring the bobbin thread up through the needle plate at this point here. To do that, I'm going to hold on to the top thread and with my left hand, and I'm going to turn the hand wheel towards me with my right hand quite firmly, and what you'll see is the top thread has come around the bobbin carriage. It's been picked up by the shuttle and it's coming around the bobbin carriage, and it loops with the bobbin thread, and I can pull the top thread and bring that thread from the bobbin up through the needle plate there, and I'm then going to take both of them back and down behind the presser foot here.
Right, okay.
Okay, so now we're ready to start sewing. We've got a few little checks to make first. We need to check that our foot is the correct foot to be used for the project we're doing. In this case, we're using the universal foot, that is the one that comes with your machine attached when you first buy it. We need to check the stitch is the correct stitch, and I would suggest that you use to start with a straight stitch set at either the default if it's an electronic machine, or a 2.5 stitch length on your mechanical machine. Make sure that your threads are both coming through and underneath the foot, so they're going down and through back behind the foot there, and then we can put our fabric in place. So position your fabric just so it's positioned behind the hole in the foot that you're using, in the presser foot that you're using, and lower the presser foot lever down onto the fabric. You can feel that the fabric is held in place by just tugging on it. It's just there in place, and now we're ready to sew. So I'm going to start by holding the two threads towards the left hand side, towards the back, and I can lower the hand wheel down to bring the needle down into the fabric and check where I'm positioned. Then I'm going to use my foot, and I'm just going to depress my foot slowly down onto the foot pedal to start sewing. If I want to, I can press the reverse and reverse back, and then start sewing forwards again. And just press the foot, your foot down slowly enough to feel in control. You may find it's a bit fast to begin with, and so just ease up, and you can just gently sew forwards like so. Now, we don't have to hold our fabric or pull our fabric, we just let the fabric feed through like that, and then we can guide where we want to be. At the end, I can again reverse and go forwards to finish off my stitching. Bring the hand wheel towards you to bring the needle right up, lift the presser foot lever, and remove your fabric from the machine. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial on setting up your sewing machine. You can sign up for additional classes to continue your sewing journey with me via my website. Thank you, and see you soon.